So I guess they just have not decided on what to change it to. But they said, yeah, we're going to change our name. The Cleveland Indians have had a meeting with Native Americans to see if the name Indians is offensive before they changed their name. And I don't remember or didn't hear about the results of this meeting, but I don't think the name's offensive. I'm pretty sure that these Native Americans are going to say that the name is not offensive, and a lot of them, just like with the Redskins, a lot of the Native Americans said that the word Redskins was not offensive, and a lot of them were fans of the Washington football team. Washington football team. How ridiculous is that? That sounds so silly. We're just, so politically correct in this country nowadays. It's funny. But the Indians, the Cleveland Indians, are going to have or maybe they've already had their meeting. The Redskins had the meeting. They said the name wasn't offensive, but the Redskins still changed it. They still changed the name, so they're not going to be the Redskins anymore. The Indians haven't heard anything on that yet. So, but for now, the Indians are still the Indians, which that name is not offensive. I know I'm not an Indian. But neither are the Native Americans here in America. They're not Indians either. It's just a name that got stamped on them because Christopher Columbus hit Cuba and thought that he had sailed all the way around the world and was back in India. When you have a long journey like that, a long trip, you don't know. I imagine you don't know exactly where you are, because if he sailed from England to Cuba and thought that he had went around the world, then that's a great distance there in the middle there that he wasn't sure about. Sailing from England to Cuba, I mean, you've got that would, if North America wasn't there, it was just water, and he was trying to sail all the way back to India that way, that would still be a great distance that he needed to go. And so he wasn't really accurate in where he was, But anyway, I digress. I said all that to say this. The word Indian doesn't apply to Native Americans because this is not India. It was an accident that name was smacked on them because the Pilgrims thought that this was India, and it wasn't. So they said, "Hey, we've sailed to India, and here's some Indians." And Native Americans do kind of look like Indians. If you just put a red dot on their foreheads, then you would be fooled too. The only difference, because their skin is brown, and they have long black hair, silky black hair, just like Indians do in India. The only thing is they dress a lot different. Indians wear a lot of dashikis, and some of them wear turbans. Native American Indians, they used to wear a headdress of feathers sometimes, or some of them just wear a headband with one feather on it. They wore the skin, like bear skin and deer skin shirts with a lot of, tassels hanging off of it, and pants that are looking matching. And, they've painted on them and things of that nature. They used, war paint on their faces, the Native Americans. And that's something, those things I just mentioned is something that Indians don't do. The only paint I've ever seen on the Indian is a red dot on their foreheads. And some of the women even go as far as to put a jewel on that dot. Like a half a ruby or something. This seems silly to me. I don't even remember why they do it, what it means. I did ask. Respectfully, I did ask this young lady when I was younger. She was an Indian girl, and I was African American man. Although they didn't call us African Americans back then. At that time, they just called us black. It's black man. Anyway, I asked this Indian girl about the red dot on the forehead, and she explained it to me, which I do not remember what that explanation was. She was married to a white guy. Yeah, he was in the service here in the U.S., a serviceman. He went to India. He was stationed there. He met this Indian girl, fell in love, I guess, and married her, brought her back to the U.S. It just so happens that I had met the young lady, and she had actually had a scar on her forehead where the red dot used to be. Oh, man. And I asked her how did she get that scar at first. And she told me that she was mad at her parents about this red dot. Because her parents were talking to her about the red dot. And she said that she tripped and hit her head on a coffee table. And it left a scar right where that red dot used to be. She said she felt cursed. Now, when she was telling me this story, I was thinking, you're not cursed. You're not cursed, dumbass. But, I didn't say that to her because, if she believes in this. But she was arguing with her parents about the red dot. And they were trying to get her to wear the red dot. She didn't want to wear the red dot. She wasn't that fond of the red dot. And now she said she hit her head and it started bleeding right there in the middle of her forehead. And she thought God had cursed her to make her have a red dot. I said, yeah, but you washed the blood off and that scar healed up and now you don't have a red dot. She said, yes, but I do have a scar there that's sort of permanent unless I get plastic surgery. And she said, I can't afford that, so I'll just have this little... It was a very small scar, so it wasn't like it was a major, giant scar or anything. It was pretty small, but... I don't even remember what the red dot is for, so... But it was an amusing story. More so to me because she thought she was cursed for arguing with her parents about the red dot. That's what I remember of the story. I don't even remember what the red dot means and why the Indian girls wear it. All I took out of the story is you fell, hit your head, and now you think you're cursed. Oh, man, maybe I shouldn't be laughing, but it just struck me as funny. And now we've approached the time that we're going to go for another break. So when we come back, we're going to talk about something else. I promise. We'll be right back right after this.
And now, without further ado, the man we've all been waiting for, T-Jam D. Welcome back to the show.
All right. We are back. It's the man you've been waiting for. Not just since you've been listening to this podcast, but your whole life. Unless you're not attractive. Which, you know, if you're a guy, that I'm talking about guys. That's one of those political things. In our society, you're not allowed to say a woman's attractive anymore. I'm not talking about harassing. I'm talking about just mentioning the fact that a woman is harassive is offensive, apparently. So, to all you attractive women out there, you're attractive. Ha ha ha. Sue me. Cancel me. Cancel these nuts. Why don't you? But anyway. Let's move on to sports, because there's something I meant to mention, but I didn't get around to it. And that was, there's been a lot of sexual harassment claims going on with the Washington football team. For those of you who are not familiar with the Washington football team, we're talking about the Washington Redskins. But there's been some sexual harassment claims from, I think it was former employees, females. They're not claiming this about the owner, Daniel Snyder. They're talking about other employees that worked in the office of the Washington football team. And they said it was the ladies referred to it as a harassment culture. I think that's what I heard from the media. It's been reported. They called it a sexual harassment culture. In the rape culture, even though no one was raped, no one claimed that they were raped, they just said that they had been harassed by some higher ups. So, I don't have all the details, or any of the details for that matter. I'm going to let this story develop, and I will get back to you on the sexual harassment claims about the Washington football team. Which is funny to me. Maybe it's just me that thinks this is funny, that they're going to call themselves the Washington football team. That's sort of obvious. They're all football teams if they're a football team. But Washington, I don't know why they're doing this. If they really haven't found a name that suits them, or if they're just trying not to change their name by saying, we'll just let this all blow over, and then we'll go back to being the Washington Redskins. But by that time, you have changed the logo to whatever you change it to. And so if your team goes out on the field with the different uniforms on, with the different logo on the helmet, you might as well change the name, man. There's no point at that point, there's no reason to sit back and just call yourself